the one who will restore America now.
I'm Ron Paul, and I approve this message.
Time to get out of the comfort zone because these people aren't playing games. 9/11 was an inside job. 9/11 was an inside job. 9/11 was an inside job.
We're going to organize. Humanity's going to come together. We are swinging muskets here, toe-to-toe with the globalists. They're bloodied. We're bloodied. It is absolute, total war.
We are back on the Infowars Nightly News. Now, we had an interview scheduled with Cindy Sheehan. She contacted us just a few minutes ago, let us know that something came up, so she's unable to make it today. I'm sure we'll talk to her again in the future, but she is, of course, being pursued by the IRS for not paying back taxes, which she openly didn't pay in protest of the wars going on. Of course, her son, Casey, was killed, and she's been protesting against the illegal wars ever since. We appreciate her standing up and want to support her on that. But you have to ask yourself if she's being targeted by the IRS leading up to the Obama election, and if that is connected with the untimely death of Breitbart, if it's connected with the untimely departure of Napolitano, Buchanan, and others from the airwaves. Is this all part of a purging of opposition to Obama leading into the re-election? I think it's an important question. Anyway, you're not losing any real content tonight on the news because we have a special presentation of Alex's speech in Dallas, Texas, on his blueprint to defeat the New World Order speaking tour. It's a great speech. I've watched Alex almost every day on air for more than 6 years, and I think his best moments are still captured during his live speaking events. And so it's great if you could come out to see him. For those who can't, you can watch it on the recording, even though in some ways you don't capture the same energy. Nonetheless, a lot of important points came up, and in the question and answer sessions, many interesting stories come forward. People who cured themselves using natural remedies to fight disease, people targeted by Monsanto, people inside the military who are responding to and seeing the responses of others in the military against illegal orders, including the NDAA, and a whole lot more. So now we bring you that speech, and we hope you also watch the companion documentary that's now out for free, New World Order Blueprint of Madmen. You can find that on our YouTube channel and at PRISONPLANET.tv. We appreciate all the subscribers and hope you'll stay tuned. Good night.
I know the gentleman that you guys are here for, the Mario Andretti, The Rock, all rolled into one. It's time for Alex Jones!
Now look at all these articles and documents and notes I've got. Hell, I got to do a good job with all you great people out here. You know, like I said earlier when I introduced that documentary we just showed, I am humbled by meeting you. I'm humbled by talking to you. And I know that it's in people like you that we're going to turn this around. Because we don't have a choice. How many times have we been lied to? How many times have we caught the system doing everything it can, not just to rob us, but to try to ruin our lives so that we're weak and poor and dominated by them so they can control our destiny? I don't like that. I want to see humanity doing well. I want to see humanity empowered. You know, my dad's a dentist, and at least once a year for more than 20 years, he's gone to Latin America to be part of these free clinics for these different doctors' organizations that take care of kids. And he's told me the same stories that my uncle told me, who did years of work as a missionary in Central and South America. And he said, you know, you don't appreciate life, even though my uncle was in Vietnam, a helicopter pilot, until you see children at orphanages where the orphanages don't even have the money to pay for food, and there's little kids with their rib cages sticking out. That's what we're talking about. You have to realize, I have to realize, and really let it burn into our brains that more than 15 million children, according to the UN and their own numbers, it's probably higher, 15 million children a year starve to death on this planet, and another 20 million adults. And our corrupt, stinking, corporate fascist government pays farmers not to produce food. And it's not just that they're trying to protect our markets. Then you find out that they've got all these endless white papers, as many as you could ever read. Every day, Aaron Dyke's doing research, and others of my crew bring in. This is on the Rockefeller Foundation. This is on the Carnegie Foundation. This is on the Ford Foundation. Here's a Planned Parenthood document. Oh, where is it? It's on, you know, this university site, archive, talking about how in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, we got to shut food off to people to kill them. And then some people say, well, there are too many people. I love the yuppies that'll say, well, okay, there is a population control agenda, but there are too many of those people. And I'm like, don't you get it, you little jackass bastard? You think you're part of the system? Your water, your food, your vaccines, it's all jacked with the same stuff, you little piece of crap. There is nothing more pathetic than some coward who is so cowardly they play like a little dress-up game in their mind, a little make-believe game in their mind, that they're part of the winning team because they go along with all this, that it's like some kind of open joke, like it's some type of game. I've had so-called establishment types. It's always somebody who's worth like $50 million and thinks they're part of the elite when that ain't even middle class for the globalist, who'll come up to me and say, well, Alex, you know, maybe 9/11 is an inside job, but you know, it takes things like that to get the people doing what they're supposed to. Like this sack of garbage thinks they're part of the system because they can understand false flag terror and understand that's what it takes to defend America. No. If they did evil things like that to defeat evil, it'd be evil, because you can't become evil to defeat evil like the ring of Sauron in Lord of the Rings. Doesn't work that way. But they're not using evil to defeat evil. They're not even following that fallacy. They have given themselves totally over to it. The globalists compete with each other to see who is the most wicked and ruthless. And in that process have become total madmen, as I documented in this earlier presentation that you saw. And that was only the tip of the iceberg. Our problem in compiling that 40 minutes was that there was so much we didn't get to, so much that we couldn't cover, so much that we couldn't show you how much crisis this world is in. Now, with that said, I've given you the blueprint of madmen. I want to give you the blueprint to defeat the New World Order. This world's engineers, the controllers of this planet, always seek to teach you that resources are finite. They always seek to teach you that for you to win, somebody else has got to lose. They know full well that's not how this world works, that we have unlimited potential, that we're made in the image of the Creator. Whether you believe in that or not, humankind has given us Beethoven, literature. They've given us all of the science, all of the beauty. They've given us people like Whitney Houston's voice. All the things that are in humanity, all the good. And it's by recognizing that good and that potential and by reaching for what's good and empowers us that we have hope for the future. Our ancestors, and God knows they weren't perfect, understood sacrifice and standing up for what's right. And that's the only reason we're here today. Why do you think the United States, such a small area geographically for the land surface of this planet, and only 4.5% of the world's population, 100%, 7 billion. The United States is 4.5 or 4.9, depending on which actuary you look at, but less than 5% of the world's population. Why did the United States, with less than 5% of the world's population, have more than half the wealth of the world? Freedom. And it doesn't mean that our higher level of freedom was perfect. Doesn't mean that there wasn't injustice. Didn't mean that there weren't problems. But compared to every other place in the world, we didn't have the corrupt elites on top of us trying to shut down human destiny, shut down human ingenuity and creativity because they're threatened by it, because they want a monopoly. Because the United States only had a few glimmers and moments of freedom, we developed the highest test scores. We developed the most scientific developments. We created the media and the literature and the art and the music that has conquered the world. And the globalists, the global scientific engineers saw that. They were aware of that. They knew that. And so they did everything they could to take that over and to take our energies and turn it against humanity. So now America is in a paradox. America, right here at this center place where we live, make no mistake, is where the battle will be fought. It's where the decisions will be made. We are the great evil empire, but we are also the great deliverer from the tyranny. But we have to decide who we are. That's why the struggle between good and evil is being decided here. Because we have the birthright of liberty, because we have the basic freedom, because we are armed like no other nation on earth. The globalists have not taken this republic. All right, I've never been able to do this on the radio. I can never get to the second point without going off into rants. It may be a bad speech, it may be the best ever, but I'm going to attempt, with your help, to go through all these points. All right, I'll start at the top. Again, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank my crew, but I also want to thank all of you. I love that Teddy Roosevelt quote. I should have had it here so I could quote it properly, but forget the critic, the person who's not in the arena. What matters is the person who is in the arena, who knows the great challenges, the great struggles. Because even if you fail, at least you tried to dare greatly. That's what matters. It's trying. That's where it all starts, is taking action. That's what's fulfilling. And I want to say this to you here now, because I was told several times last week and again today that I am the 21st century Paul Revere. And I said, no. You are the 21st century Paul Revere. And this is not a battle. This is not a war against the undefeated British Imperial Redcoats who'd never been defeated. And George Washington lost almost every battle for 5 years, but they persevered. It was the continuing to fight. It was the resistance that was the victory. And that's why the system attacks that victory, because it hates it. Anything the New World Order attacks, you better believe that's where the liberty is. That's where the freedom is. That's what's good. Not because it's perfect, but like King David of the Bible, the heart is right. That's what matters. None of us are perfect. And the system will try to tell us how we're bad and how we're impure and how we're not good. None of that matters. It's our hearts that matter. It's what we stand for. It's who we are in the final equation that matters. Do we serve light or do we serve the murdering, destructive darkness? That's the question that you must decide, and it's a decision you must make. The system tells you there's not that decision, because that decision is there, and that decision is where all the power in this universe resides. As Martin Luther King said, the universe bends towards justice. Providence is on the side of justice. The minute, the second you commit yourself to liberty and freedom and justice, even your body be killed, your spirit truly